The End of Banking, Money, Credit, and the Digital Revolution by Jonathan McMillan, aka Two Ghostwriters. Can we tell you a secret? We can do better than banking. There is an alternative. A financial system without banking is both desirable and possible. While banking once was a useful activity that provided essential economic functions, the digital revolution turned the tables. Banking slipped out of control because information technology brought banking regulation to an end. It became ineffective. The financial crisis of 2007-08 brought in a new age of unconstrained banking. But the effects of the digital revolution on the financial system are twofold. We not only lost control over banking in the digital age, we also no longer needed it. And two, information technology offers new possibilities that make banking redundant. Ending banking will mark the beginning of a new, modern financial system. We know. Calling for the end of banking might sound too simplistic to solve today's problems. Still, the authors of this book do a great job. They clearly walk us through their rationale, and we'll do the same for you. But first, let's discuss how the term banking is defined in this book. Banking is the creation of money out of credit. Banking is the creation of money out of credit. Banking is the creation of money out of credit. In other words, banking is the creation of money out of credit. Banking is not a business model. It is simply one of many possible ways to organize the financial system. But the current financial system of banking is broken, and the design flaws are leading our global banking boat to an imminent demise. And if there are other, more effective and sustainable ways, then what's taking so long for us to explore them? That's a good question. But this book spends less time on detailing the answers to those questions and spends more time proposing a possible solution. Their proposal? A simple change in the rules of accounting. That's it. Just a simple change in the rules of accounting. I know, my group couldn't believe it too. A simple change in the rules of accounting can greatly remediate our global money system woes. The authors build up to this solution by organizing the book into 3 parts. Part 1 is titled Banking in the Industrial Age. Part 2 is Banking in the Digital Age. And Part 3 is titled A Financial System for the Digital Age. In Part 1, we learned that traditional banking is the simplest form of banking. It involves a combination of lending and safekeeping or saving. Traditional banking was effective during the industrial age, and that was great because during the industrial age, the increased productivity of a capital-intensive economy alleviated poverty on an unprecedented scale in the history of mankind up to that point. But even back then, traditional banking wasn't without its deep flaws. You see, at times, banking breaks down, and these breakdowns are called bank runs. A bank run occurs when a large number of bank customers withdraw their deposits because they believe the bank might fail. As more people withdraw their deposits, the likelihood of default increases, and this encourages further withdrawals. This can destabilize the bank to the point where it faces bankruptcy. Bank runs usually spur full-blown banking panics that knock the financial system off its foundation, and they lead to deep recessions in the real economy. 2 particularly severe panics in 1907 and 1929 prompted the U.S. government to tackle the problems by establishing a tight regulatory framework. Government guarantees prevented bank runs, and banking regulations such as capital requirements restricted banks from abusing the government guarantees. And the regulatory framework proved successful in the industrial age. You see, society could enjoy the benefits of banking, and the regulatory framework kept its problems in check. But times were a-changin', and banking forgot to change with the times. Beginning in the 1970s digital age, computers and e-com networks were introduced. Credit became detached from banks' balance sheets, and this had significant consequences for the effectiveness of regulating banking. Shadow banking became more and more popular, more prevalent, and ultimately more problematic. In fact, shadow banking became more important than traditional banking. Shadow banking is banking that is not regulated or only lightly regulated. During this time, it became difficult to define what a bank was because the practice of banking was pretty elusive and regulation was just not possible. Regulators were set for a race they were bound to lose. And banking institutions made tremendous profits by taking excessive risks in good times, while the government absorbed the losses in bad times. It was a hot mess. Banking was clearly broken, and the small percentage of people who could help to change it were not interested in finding the glue to fix it. After all, They were the ones profiting from the system's design flaws. The rise of information technology undermined the regulatory approach with which society got banking under control back in the industrial age. While technological progress is known for shaking up established institutions, it usually opens up new possibilities as well. This process is known as creative destruction. Information technology not only destroyed the functionality of the banking system, it also enabled a new organization of money and credit. See, we've seen the creative effects of information technology. New technologies have emerged, and they've opened up new possibilities for safe lending opportunities while providing borrowers with long-term financing for high-risk endeavors. Some of these new technologies are peer-to-peer lending, virtual marketplaces, and digital currencies. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, wow, what great new technologies. But still, why do we have to end banking? Why do we have to end banking? The answer is simple. Banking with full government guarantees, but without effective regulation, remains too profitable from an individual perspective, even though the result is a huge cost imposed on the greater part of society. In other words, the 1% continue to grow fatter while the 99% bear the greatest weight of paying the cost. That is why banking has to end, my friends. Now remember, in this book, banking is defined as the creation of money out of credit. In a financial system without banking, the functions of money and credit are separated and assigned to the public and private spheres respectively. Remember also, the proposed solution to ending banking and remediating the financial system woes was establishing a simple change in the rules of accounting. Do you remember? There are 2 rules to be exact. Rule number 1, the total value of financial assets of a company has to be less than or equal to the value of its equity. And rule number 2, the value of real assets of a company has to be greater than or equal to the value of the company's liabilities in the worst financial state. The 2008 financial crisis took us by surprise. We now know better. Mama always said, if you know better, do better. There is an alternative, and that is the end of banking.